welcome to another episode of the Minorities Report podcast. I'm Antonio Alcazar.
And I'm Jason, coming through in the Big Pork Chop Express Technor.
Egg Foo Young Express? No, that was
Pork Chop Express.
Yeah. That was the other one.
Yeah.
The Pork Chop Express was what Kurt Russell was driving around.
Yep.
The Egg Foo Young was the tourist truck that
Egg. Egg Shan.
Today we reviewed a movie that is a cult classic, I guess, called Big Trouble in Little China.
Hey, hold on. Okay, a couple things right off the bat.
Yeah.
This is the type of movie that we created this podcast for.
We got so in the weeds for a couple of weeks.
Yes.
we were like watching like Kingdom of Heaven,
high-end films and stuff. Yeah.
And you know what? I was enjoying myself, man.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
Then, 2 weeks ago we did RoboCop. Then now we're doing Big Trouble in Little China. This is the type of movie that we decided to make this show about.
Right.
So yeah. Let's talk about this one. Let's get into.
Is this the third John Carpenter film we've done?
We have seen two.
Halloween.
For sure. Oh, Halloween. I always forget Halloween.
Halloween, the thing.
Yeah.
And now this.
Yeah.
That's awesome, man. John Carpenter. I mean, you're in on his stuff now. Like you feel like how he does his shit, right?
Yeah, there is no doubt in my mind that this is John Carpenter.
Right.
When you're watching this. You know, there's some very John Carpenter moments.
Yeah.
But really, what I'm talking about is the animatronics.
Animatronics, yeah. Boy.
Yeah, I mean, he just uses the animatronics. I feel like it was the same team every time.
Yeah,
you know, because
man,
they have that very John Carpenter kind of look to him.
I mean, it's, you know, he holds a lot of hats too. He does a lot of the music. He works with the special effects guys. He's very into doing everything.
Can I ask you a question?
Of course. Yeah, this is a safe space.
Do you feel like it worked for him?
For John Carpenter?
Yeah.
From 1970 Halloween through 1990.
Okay.
If I take that period of time.
Yeah.
Those 12 years
What was 1990? This?
I don't remember. No, I'm sorry. All the way up to In the Mouth of Madness. So that was 96.
Okay.
It's probably my third or fourth favorite director. Wow. If I just take the space of time.
So, okay, let's talk about this movie then.
Hell yeah, let's jump into Big Trouble in Little China. So movie starts off, and it starts off in a little bit of a weird area. You're with this guy, and he's like questioning a Chinese dude, and he's kind of weird going on. He's like, you know, he wants to know something. This is clearly an after the fact situation.
Yeah, he is
the Chinese guy's in trouble. The lawyer is there, right? He's a lawyer.
He's his lawyer.
Yes.
Okay.
And he's like, you know, I need to defend you, this and that, blah, blah, blah. You need to let me know where Jack Burton is. And Egg is not about that life. He's like,
now,
I ain't snitching.
I don't get any of this.
Right.
Given that I've seen the movie now.
Yeah.
Why are they looking for Jack Burton? Who even knew about him? He was such a minor role in this whole thing.
Sure.
I feel like this is like a setup with no payoff. Because he didn't do anything.
I mean,
he didn't do shit. For him to be like, I need to know where Jack Burton is. I'd be more interested in Egg.
The Wing Kong. Well, but Egg, everything Egg does is like under wraps.
But what? But I'd be more interested in the other guy.
Everything that happened at the Wing Kong.
What was the other guy, main character?
Fuck. Wang.
Oh yeah, Wang. I'd
Chi.
be more interested in Wang. I'd be like, where's Wang?
That's
Jack
funny.
Burton, who?
Yeah. Well, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
I get that that's kind of the point.
Yeah.
But like this intro,
you leave Jack Burton alone.
It didn't set it up for it to be the point. It set it up for Jack Burton to be like, oh, I wonder what he did. He didn't do shit. He was just there for the ride.
He literally killed David Lopan. We're getting way ahead of ourselves.
Okay, yeah.
But I disagree, man. He was in the shit, and more importantly,
I feel like he was in the he was adjacent to the shit.
Well, right, and more importantly, his truck was like an identifying key thing, right? So like it's hard. Like his truck was taken by the Wing Kong Exchange. He smashes through there, like even if you just go on a surface level, right?
Okay, yeah.
Like we're a business, and now we're like, you know, this dude destroyed, you know, part of our building, our business and stuff. You know? So that's kind of the route I would take with it.
Yeah. Because he was just like, there was a green explosion in the sky. Right. I need to know where Jack Burton is.
Flames?
And
they're you're behind it.
Yeah, well, he was behind it.
Right. And he wants to, do you expect me to believe in magic? Oh, yeah, it's because it's real.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean?
What
real?
is that?
Sorcerers?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Why would I believe in that? Why would I believe in it?
Because it's real. and he shows him some lightning. And dude looks like, what the fuck?
I would have run out.
See that?
I would have run out of the room in fear.
You wouldn't.
But then I would stop myself in the hallway.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, no, hold on. And then I'd walk back inside and be like, okay, that was just shock. Can you teach me how to do that?
And he's just like, see that? That was nothing.
That's
how it all begins.
He's a peasant sorcerer.
Yes, he's a peasant sorcerer, and that's how it all begins. And then it cuts from that to like a rainy night, right? Uh-huh. And then a friend of mine introduced his wife to this recently. Okay, we both loved it, of course.
Okay,
and this part she was all in. She was like, okay, yeah.
Okay.
And then this scene stars.
Yeah.
And she looks at him and goes, what the fuck have you gotten me
I'm
into?
out.
Right, like she's pretty much like, that music let her know what she was in for.
You know, I had a very similar experience.
Yeah,
because I saw the first scene.
Yeah.
And I was, okay. So I have a sensitive eye to racism. And we've seen some fairly racist movies, and weirdly, a lot of Asian racism in this like 80s, 90s. And so right away, I was just like, oh boy, here we go. They're gonna
It's
really
gonna be some racist shit.
It's gonna be some racist shit,
right?
And then but I'm in tepidly.
It's 80s racist shit.
Yeah? Well, like, to be honest, I didn't have, and it's funny. I don't, in retrospect, think this movie is racist.
In fact, it's the opposite.
I think, exactly. I think it's kind of the opposite. I think they were just like, let's just do a really cool movie with Asian people, and the entire cast is going to be Asian people, and none of them are going to be like shitty caricatures. There's going to be a lot of like normal Asian people that are just speaking regular English. We're not going to make them sound like cartoons and shit. Now, not everywhere, right? There were some caricatures that were played up, but I think that it was done in like a very like, this is fantasy kind of thing, and then the main characters were kind of like fine. So I don't like, what I'm saying is to kind of put this in my feelings in perspective. I don't, in retrospect, think that this was racist, but when I was starting to watch this movie, I'm just like, okay, I'm holding on for the gongs. Long Duck Dong is going to show up, and I'm going to be really angry about it.
It's funny that you mentioned that.
Yeah.
Because we're going to get to that.
And then the next scene is Kurt Russell being probably the whitest person I've ever seen.
Yeah.
And I was
in
just
the Pork Chop Express.
In the Pork Chop Express.
Talking on a fucking CV.
Yeah, just talking to himself in the CV.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then I was like, oh boy, this is
It's like I told my ex-wife, I never drive faster than I can see, and besides that, it's all in the reflexes.
I was like, you know what old Jack Burton always says? And I'm just like, who the fuck talks about himself like this?
It's funny that you bring this up. Because this movie, and we're getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, actually helped some movies later on down the line. And one of those movies is probably not even a surprise. Actually, 2 Marvel movies were influenced by this movie.
Which ones?
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay.
I mean, that's got to be obvious, because this character is so similar to Star-Lord, it's ridiculous.
Okay. Like, yeah, I see it.
He's the leader, but he's also like the clown, and like Jack. Like, even the line, Jack Burton, who
he thinks he's way more important than he ever actually
exactly
is.
That, right? And it's that. And then the other one is actually Thor Ragnarok. And I could kind of see that with time. Like, I could kind of see that with time. But yeah, Taika Waititi, I believe, he said that this movie was one of his biggest inspirations for Thor Ragnarok.
I can see that too. One of the things that I thought when I was watching this was this movie feels way ahead of its time.
Yeah.
But also, it would be really schlocky these days.
It's crazy to see, like, When I get to some of the behind the scenes
this
stuff,
seems like Journey to the Center of the Earth bad. Like this is like the new Jumanji reboot bad.
Yeah.
In that it's just like, well, what happens next? I don't know, some more silly shit. And then what after that? More silly shit.
Yeah.
How about more though?
Yeah.
All of it is silly shit.
Right,
okay,
right.
all right. Well, then I guess this is some silly shit song. And like, I don't watch those movies now.
Yeah.
You know, like when I'm not going to sit down and watch Jumanji.
Sure.
You know, because not the original Jumanji, but like the new one with the Rock.
I greatly have a problem with you comparing this to Jumanji. This isn't
Have
like
you seen
Jumanji.
the new Jumanji movie?
My girlfriend saw it, and I was listening to it in the background.
Well, what I'm saying is, it's just like a bunch of nonsensical fun. It's just a bunch of just like, well, the next thing happens, and the next thing. Who are these guys? They're just the guys. Okay, well then, what do? They do that thing.
I think there's so much more depth to this movie than you're giving it.
No,
we'll get to a lot of it.
I refuse that right now. I really hope that you can turn my fucking mind around this.
I don't know
because that is the least thing that I think.
I don't know if I'll turn your mind around on it, but I will explain.
It was no depth. It was just a fun romp.
I used to think that when I watched it back in the day. This is honestly, if I put my chips on the table, this is probably the first time I've seen this movie in about 8 years, 8 to 10 years.
Okay.
But I used to watch this movie religiously back in the day, okay? And like it was always exactly what you said, where it's just this like fun bullshit romp time.
Yeah.
Watching it now and sitting down and trying to analyze like everything about the movie, I feel very different. Like there's there's
consideration
care in a lot of this film that was like almost shocking to me when I got to it.
Yeah. I'm willing to hear you out on all of this.
Good. I'm glad. So he gets through his rain tirade, and he shows up in
Chinatown,
San Francisco, Chinatown.
Yeah, for sure.
And he's got to deliver his shit. And this whole scene reminded me a lot of Blade Runner.
You know,
like the market.
Yes. Okay. I mean, 1-to-1 Blade Runner, for sure. It was the same market, but like. And then it was supposed to be the same market, except for in a different year, right?
Sure.
Yeah, because it's also LA.
Yeah.
Blade Runner was.
Yep.
But the you know what movies? There are two movies that came to mind when I was watching this.
Give it to me.
Ghostbusters.
Okay.
And the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from like 1981.
I could see that one.
But it just had that like dun, 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 kind of feel to it, you know, like this like early 90s. I'm surprised people weren't dancing in the background when they were moving around.
Sure.
I don't know why, but it was very evocative of that stuff.
I can buy that one. So he gets up, he shows up, and the music's still going. Man, I'm loving this fucking music. And he meets up with some friends, and he's playing some I don't know what game this is, this Chinese like gambling game that they're doing.
It wasn't a game. This is just them holding money in their hands and screaming things at each other. There's no way John Carpenter actually took an actual game. He was just like, just scream at each other with money in your hands.
I guarantee this is a real Chinese game that they're playing. There's no way John Carpenter would have just been like, just scream, right? But like, dude, I don't know what the game is.
If I find out that it really was just John Carpenter putting money in each other's hands and just scream at each other for a little while, I will be like, you know what, John Carpenter? That is genius. Yeah. That is like next level shit. Because it doesn't have to be anything.
Right. You know? So basically they clean up the game the next morning, and the guy's just like, I'm out of here because I'm broke.
Yeah.
And Kurt, everybody's drunk at this point for the most part. And Kurt is like, well, come on, man, let's keep going or whatever. And then Wang, starts to get a little bit salty here, and he's like, hey, and Jack is just having a good time. He's like, I'm sure the next time I come down here, you'll gang up on old Jack Burton. No.
By the way, you did notice that he was doing a John Wayne impression, right?
We'll get to all of that. So
really, okay,
yeah,
it wasn't just me thinking. This guy
there is
like John Wayne.
Direct purpose behind this.
Oh, interesting.
Okay, so
because like I've seen Kurt Russell movies.
Yeah,
he doesn't always sound like John Wayne.
No,
and in this one, I was just like, is he doing a John Wayne impression?
No, he absolutely is doing a John Wayne impersonation. So, racial difference. What we had here, racial differences was notwithstanding, and then he. Wang really gets salty and he's just like, I need that money. Yeah.
Let's double or nothing.
Yeah.
Or he says nothing or double.
Come on.
Yeah.
I've got like $1,000 here in my pocket.
Yeah.
And he
1,100 or some shit like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
and he wants to do it all on splitting a fucking bottle in half.
Yeah, I'm gonna split this bottle right in half.
Right, and Jack's like, you know what? All right, fuck it. Right, throws it, but not that bottle. This bottle. Finishes drinking that one. Sure. Wang tries the trick. Doesn't work.
And I didn't think it was going to be a trick. I thought he was going to be some kind of sorcerer, and he was going to cut it right in half.
Right.
He was going to get one over on old Jack.
Right.
And no.
Didn't have it at all. Fucked up.
For sure.
He's got great reflexes, we see right here.
Sure.
And
now he owes him $1,000.
No, double. So it's $2,000 something, because he already owed him over $1,000. So it's double or nothing. Sure. So it's well over $2,000 that he owes him at this point. Yeah. And he wants his money, and he's I don't have money like that. I'm just a po Chinese boy. Yeah, and he's like, you own a lot more than I do. You own a goddamn restaurant. And Wang says it always works at home. Well, have me over sometime, but until then, pay up. It's like $2,200. I can't remember the exact
amount of money. Yeah, some large amount of money.
He says, okay, well, I'll go get it.
I'm just thinking about all the fucking silly shit that happens in this movie, and I'm like, oh, we're really about to talk about all this shit.
Yeah, boy! We're talking Big Trouble in Little Chinatown. So he agrees. Okay, I'll tell you what. I need to go back to my. I don't have it on me. I'm going to go back to my restaurant. Okay, cool. I'll tell you what though. I'll follow you to your restaurant. And they're getting ready to go, and he's like, "Wait a second, no, I'll drive you." Right?
I'm really dubious. At
right.
This point.
Well, because he's like, I thought you were going to follow me. He's like, yeah, but until I came to my senses. Yeah. So, all right, but we got to stop somewhere first. Where? Okay, to the airport. Over my dead body. No, seriously. And he's got to go pick up his girlfriend that's flying in.
No, his fiance.
Sorry. Yes. Yeah. But it's still a girlfriend because your girlfriend is your fiance, right?
Sure. But he's just like he's gonna go pick up a girl who's flying over from China. Who he's gonna marry.
Yes, exactly. And he's really into this lady.
Yeah, and it's funny. You get the sense of that here.
Yep.
Then you don't get the sense of that for a little while.
I mean,
and then you get the sense of that again.
I was gonna say everything he's doing pretty much is to try to get Mao Yang back.
Okay, so let's keep talking, right? Because they go to the airport.
Sure. And they're at the airport, and Jack Burton sees Kim Cattrall, young Kim Cattrall.
Yes.
Wants to go chat with her.
Super young.
Yeah.
When did this movie get made?
1987?
Yeah, because she's in her 60s now. And seeing her that young, I was just like, what the fuck?
Well, I mean, so was Kurt Russell, right?
Yeah, for sure.
I think Kurt Russell was like 34 or 5 when he did this movie. So he was in his 30s.
Yeah,
so.
he's also like in his late 60s.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I mean, well, look at him now.
What an old dude, both of them, man.
I love him, though, man. I love me some Kurt Russell.
Yeah, so. I don't know. I'm not into it.
It's kind of funny because right now, actually, we're also watching Falcon Winter Soldier, and his son's in that one. So
for sure. And it looks so much like him.
Yeah, man. They need to. If they do another Big Trouble in Little China, I mean, you already have the actor clearly that's going to pull it off.
They got Big Trouble in Little China 2 was greenlit for a bit, and then got
Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson playing this part. That's the exact opposite of what this character is supposed to be.
And also, what a surprise, dude! Right. Just put Dwayne Johnson in everything.
Right.
Just put, what movie you want to make? I don't care. Just put The Rock in it.
Yeah.
I'm tired of The Rock. I just don't want to see them anymore.
I hear you, man.
You know who I'm also tired of?
Who?
Giancarlo Esposito.
Who is that?
He's the bad guy in Mando.
All right. So, anyways, in the next scene,
I'm just saying because it's always the same fucking character, dude. It's the same character always.
You know who I could see more of?
He was the same bad guy in Breaking Bad.
Yeah,
he's the same bad guy in Mando. He was the same bad guy. And what's the other new thing that he's doing?
Dude, we're not talking. You're talking about a guy who has his part, plays his part. We're not talking about Jeffrey Wright.
How many times am I going to see that guy?
I mean,
play that same part.
You want to hire a minority bad guy who's going to play range. You hire Jeffrey Wright. You don't hire that guy.
Yeah, well, I'd say just give it a rest for a couple of years, man. Give me a decade without that character.
Yeah, although Jeffrey Wright's going to be Jim Gordon in the new Batman.
Jeffrey Wright is?
Yeah.
No way.
Yeah, absolutely.
In Robert Pattinson's Batman?
Absolutely.
I could see that being the case.
Yeah.
He's a cool character. Yeah.
He's great in Westworld, so.
Because he's in the trailer.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that he was going to be
I'm 90% sure he's Jim Gordon.
Now, here's what I want to know.
Yeah.
Are there already petitions
for
a black?
Oh my fucking god! Yeah, I'm shocked that there isn't. No, because there's already people so angry.
My Commissioner Gordon has always been white.
There's people. There would be, but people are already so angry with Robert Pattinson that this is probably like something that they've just.
I don't even know why they'd be angry at Robert Pattinson. Because Robert Pattinson's been such a fucking great actor.
Only
these last couple of years.
Recently, right? Yeah, and I try to break that through to people. Like, check out his recent shit. It's just like Leonardo DiCaprio. It's the same walk, but. Either way, that's not what we're reviewing today.
He did Twilight 12 years ago, and this guy can go fuck himself.
We'll review The Batman on our DC specials. But, nonetheless, Well, because we did that shitty Justice League movie. So anyways, we go into... sometimes we will have a visual medium in the front so you can watch us live as we're doing this shit.
Do this shit live.
So anyways, he tries to hit on Kim Cattrall. Things don't go very well. Miao Ying shows up. Also, the Lords of Death show up. Jack tries to get bad with the Lords of Death. Things do not go well for him. And this is the first time you get a guy in this movie who's like the hero, supposed to be the hero, and he gets fucking clowned on by these young
he got
kids.
clowned on so, like, okay, so
easily.
I, at this moment, didn't think that...
He was going to be the sidekick?
I didn't realize how much of a clown he was going to be.
Yes.
I still thought that this was going to be, full disclosure, a racist movie.
Of course.
And so when these guys showed up, and they were just like... obvious Chinese bad guys,
right?
You know, like I was just.
They even had like Chinese sunglasses.
Yeah. There was the sunglasses with the slits through them, and I'm just like, oh, this is gonna be so bad. And then he's just like, let me go do something about this. And then and then he got clowned on.
What? Where did you get that?
I was just like, okay, that was pretty funny.
Yeah,
I'm into this.
Yeah,
that was funny.
They kidnap Miao Ying. They take off, and Wang and Jack try to rush after them. Almost get hit by the car.
They were like. I was sweaty watching that scene.
Right.
Because I'm thinking, okay, what's he going to do? He's going to jump in. They're going to stop. What's going to happen? He almost got run over.
Yes, he almost gets run the fuck over until Wang saves him. First of many. And so they get in the truck. They head over after the Lords of Death, try to catch up with them. But of course, a fucking 18-wheeler, even without a trailer, isn't going to catch that fucking little Honda that
was like a sports car.
Right, exactly. They get away into one of their hideouts down one of the alleys, and they try to follow after them. But as the Pork Chop Express takes a turn, we see Egg Shen, the guy from the beginning, and he's giving a tour of the Chinatown to these people. And he's going down a wrong way street, which I never realized as a kid until I watched it this time.
Was Egg going down?
Egg is going down the wrong way.
I thought that Kurt Russell was.
Right. Yeah. And I thought that too when I was a kid until I watched it this time. Because I was like, why is he honking at him? Yeah. And I never understood that. Now watching it, it's clear all the cars are parked the way that Jack's coming through, and he's coming the other way. So almost hits him, blazes by him. Heads down an alley, and we see a weird Chinese guy look at him as they come down in through the alley. Which, of course, we know later is David Lopan.
Sure.
So they come down, and he asks for some help from a lady. She's very helpful. Lets him know that she hasn't seen him. And they get caught, though. Parade starts to come down the...
So this scene blew my fucking mind.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe what I was watching.
Sure.
That this had been put in the movie.
Sure.
My jaw was on the ground by the end of this scene, dude. But now,
okay.
Admittedly, this is where it starts.
Yeah,
I feel like it starts at like right with the conversation with the lawyer. Right, starts at a 2. By the airport scene, we're at like a 5.
Sure,
and then it goes from this. Breaks the scale at 13, stays at 13 until the end of the fucking movie. I couldn't believe what happened.
Right. Yeah, so they see a bunch of guys in yellow turbans. Of course, Jack doesn't know anything about this shit, and he asks Wang what the fuck is going on, and they're holding a funeral for this higher up guy in Chinatown who died, and he
like right away explains this is like a
gang thing, but these are like good guys.
These are the good guys.
Right,
yeah,
good guy
sure.
gang.
But they're a gang.
Right, they're still a gang, but they're like a protective gang of the people in this area.
I remind the audience, he is in a semi.
Yes.
Right? I mean, the
18-wheeler, yeah.
But like, he doesn't have a bed.
The
cab, yeah. He doesn't have the bed with him
or
anything. But he is in the smallest street.
Yes.
You could like, it's a street the size of,
like a hallway, like you could
alley.
set like 6 to 7 people abreast. That's it.
And so I'm like, how did he even think that this was a place where you could drive into? You know, so that was just a big part for me because it was the cramp. I was so cramped watching this.
Yeah,
I felt cramped.
And they're having a nice peaceful walkthrough, and Wang is just like, basically just let him go through, and then we'll be able to pass him, and everything will be okay because it's not going to be a big deal. Jack looks and he sees something in his rearview mirror, though.
Yeah, he's like, hey, do you guys have any backup?
Yeah.
People that don't like him?
Yeah.
Have any enemies?
Yeah. Guys in red turbans, holy shit, Jack, these guys are animals. And they come through, and the Wing Kong leader, the guy with like the long hair, he's got like butcher knives and stuff like that. You recognize that guy?
Yes, but also no.
Yeah,
when I saw him, I was just like, oh, this guy again.
Tons of shit, right?
Yeah.
He's in a bunch of John Carpenter stuff. He's in Die Hard, the first Die Hard movie, of course. He's in that gang.
Did John Carpenter make Die Hard?
No, he didn't.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he was in like Prince of Darkness. He was in trying to think of all the John. He's in at least 3 John Carpenter movies. Okay. But Carpenter has always done that. Kept like a lot of guys from movie to movie. Yeah, exactly. So they have a bit of a Chinese standoff.
Yeah, that's literally what he refers to it as.
Right.
A Chinese
Don't
standoff.
say a word. Like they're gonna hear you out of like and they're just staring
Everything
at
was
each other.
so over the top, dude. Every line in this movie,
of course.
Was so over the top. So anyway, they start fighting. They start gunning each other down.
Well, first the guns start.
Yes.
And then, you're like, okay, they just start shooting at each other.
Really blowing up everything.
Yes.
Yeah.
Bullets are out.
Yeah.
But these are Asians, man.
Yeah.
They have karate skills. Wait!
Yeah. They start coming out of the alleys with these long poles.
The staff. Sure. And then the Wing Kong guys start coming out, and they're ready to
run at them with their knives. And then they literally start fighting like the Two Towers style fighting. You know? Like this is like Helm's Deep.
Hand to hand combat. Yeah. People going through
rushing
windows
into each other, like cresting with how many
guys
people are fighting.
getting stabbed in the dick.
Yeah.
A dude getting sliced the fuck up. Yeah. I mean, this is some like brutal ass combo. Yeah.
Like I said, I couldn't believe that they had spent money on this scene.
You have a scene where a guy blocks a hit, and then like you see him hit the guy's elbow, and it completely pushes his fucking arm the other. It's actually some decent brutal fighting and shit, especially for like the 80s.
Well, but this is what I mean about, and I'll bring this up a lot in this review. This is what I mean about this movie being ahead of its time. It was trying to do a lot of things that even practically could not really be done in a convincing way. Mm-hmm. So it plays very silly. Okay. Which I know that he kind of played into that.
Of course, right? Yeah. John Carpenter's regularly done that.
But it didn't have the same gravitas that The Thing did.
Okay.
Because in The Thing, there was a lot of like practical effects that looked silly.
Yeah.
But it still had like a weight to it. I feel like in this one, he kind of played into the idea of it being lighthearted.
I mean, purposely.
Yeah.
Though, like, The Thing is a horror movie. This one, he actually, what did he refer this to? Like a Chinese mythological action comedy. Okay. Like that's what he basically broke it down. And I mean, you see all those things in this.
This has a very Asian exploitation kind of feel to it.
Somewhat, but
where it's just like super hyperbolized.
Wait a second. How many Asian exploitation films have you actually seen?
Not many.
I don't think you.
But this is
much more
for sure.
dark than that stuff. Though.
I don't know about dark. What?
I mean, like you don't have dudes like pinching nipples and so like I don't know, man. You should watch some Shaw Brothers. There's a clear difference between that stuff and what this is right here. Like I know what you're saying. It has a hint of that, but it's definitely not like to that level. Like there's literally movies where like guys like pick up needles and they're like doing karate things and then like trying to stick needles in different spots.
Yeah, but this is kind of that.
I disagree.
I mean, Raiden literally comes down in this next fucking
scene.
I
mean, okay, so but that's different to me because they're fighting along and the three storms show up.
Storms.
Yes, exactly. Eternal.
This is going on for a long time.
Yes.
And then
a little too long, I'll admit.
Yes. And then the 3 storms come out. Yes. And at this point I was like, what in the fuck is happening anymore? This really turned this movie into a thing I was not expecting it to be.
Sure.
Yeah. This is when I lost the idea of it being like
some racial
thing. And then I was just like, okay, so this is just like fantasy.
Yes.
What we're watching right
absolutely. And the three Eternal Masters show up: Thunder, Rain, and Lightning. And these dudes, so these guys land, they do their like tricks, right? They're like, and eventually lightning lands, and he shoots lightning between his hands and like has lightning eyes to like show these guys how serious they are.
Yeah.
And they start shooting at them with guns. Like This dude was shooting the lightning between his hands.
Well, you don't know that they're not going to die to guns. I would still shoot, especially if I think I'm about to die.
I would run.
Yeah.
When I saw these guys show up, and like the fact that they come down on lightning and one guy just flips from out of nowhere from like a rain cloud.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I'm no longer a ganger. Like I'm throwing off my turban, and I'm going to become a lawyer or some like regular job after that.
I'm
done
going
with
to
all
get a
this
job
shit.
at a grocery store.
Exactly. I'm done with all.
I'm a
this
nobody,
shit.
is what I think.
Then happens, like, I see where you're coming from, like, some of the silly shit. Like, because they have this ridiculous knife routine they do.
With the little hands?
No.
Oh, yeah.
They each, like, reach in, grab a knife,
yeah, and then they flip and then
throw the knife into the dudes. And that's when hell breaks loose, because they retrieve their weapons, one being two hands, two metal hands.
little tiny little hands.
Yeah.
That made me laugh. I wonder if that's a real weapon. And one of them is like the spin. Yeah, two bag scratchers. Right. And then the other one's the spinning needles guy.
Right. He's just spinning in his hands. And Wang is like, dude, enough, Jack. Yeah. Get the fuck out of here.
I feel like at that point, both of them were just like, hey, we have nothing to do here. Yeah. Can we just go?
Yeah, exactly. And they get through those guys who kind of ignore them.
Yeah.
Then
super ignore them.
Exactly.
They don't even try to hurt them. They're just like, yeah, you have no business here. Please leave.
Get the fuck out of here. And then we see a big dude, basically a very classical Chinese sort of like, sorcerer, mystical sorcerer sort of guy.
Evil guy.
And they run through the dude. Get out. And
I laughed so hard. That practical effect looks so silly, dude.
It does. It absolutely does.
It looked like they ran over a mannequin. Straight up, it just like falls over without it.
Exactly. And Jack jumps out to see what the fuck happened, and David Lopan blinds the fuck out of him. Wang rescues him, gets him out of there. They go through like a weird like window like grate thing, and
I guess they go through
the yellow turban guys. What are they fucking actually called?
I have no idea, dude. I lost all the names. But then as they're walking in, the bad guys were walking. And
that guy sees him
through the tunnels,
and then they see that the Wing Kong guys are coming after them. So they take off through like the tunnels, and Wang takes him back to his dad's restaurant from there.
Now this is where I feel like Wang is way too chill for his fiance to just have gotten kidnapped.
Sure,
because they're just kind of like chilling, eating. He's having a cool conversation.
No, remember he kind of like gets pissed off about it. He's like, "Do we need to do something now?"
I don't know. In this moment, he seemed very chill. He's just like, "Hey, man."
Jack has to file his insurance claim.
Yeah. So that's right. He's filing his insurance claim over the phone. Yep. And then the other guy shows up.
And, more importantly, Wang's dad starts to explain a little bit of what's going on and shit like that, and
a little bit of what we already know, though.
Sure.
Yeah, I feel like they in exposition never say more than what we already knew.
I don't think that's true when Egg shows up later, because Egg starts to explain what David Lopan, we're getting ahead of ourselves, so I don't want to do that. We'll get to that. Right. So the fatter Asian guy shows up, and he starts talking about what actually happened with the guy, and he was actually a mob hit and this and that, and that's why that whole thing was going on, and
they were just trying to sell the girls.
Yes, exactly. It was very typical kidnap and dump sort of thing, right? Not something any more special than that. So
they weren't special; they just were being kidnapped at the airport, to get trafficked.
Gracie Law shows up. They come up with a plan to get Wang Chi's girlfriend back, and it's a pretty good plan. They're going to head to the whorehouse. And
he dresses up like a different guy.
He dresses up like a complete loser.
Yeah.
And
a guy who's just going to go buy
a whore.
Oh, yeah, I guess, yeah.
Yeah, the thing is to make him drop their guard. I'll try. Thing is to look stupid. He does.
Yeah.
And he goes in there and he asks for a girl with green eyes, which is like, what a fucking Mark thing to do. Like this lady clearly knows.
But also, are really, like, that can't be possible.
What's that?
Like, that Asian people don't have green eyes.
No.
I feel like that's a silly thing.
Actually, I'm sure it's probably very rare.
I mean, it's as rare as green eyes just generally are.
No, I mean, which is already rare. But, like, think about it. Like, how many Africans do you know with, like, blue eyes? Really?
No, I don't.
You don't even know any Africans.
That's true.
So,
I don't know a single African.
Right. So, I mean, like, I think it's a rarity that they would have green eyes. But, yeah, things don't go well for them there. And as he's there, hooking up with his whore, just one of the storms shows up. Lightning shows up. And Jack again tries to like play the tough guy here and punches Lightning a couple times in the face and just gets thrown through a fucking wall by Lightning. Lightning grabs Miao Ying and takes the fuck off with her. So They head back to, I think they head back to Gracie Law's apartment, right?
Gracie Law's apartment?
Yeah, they head, after they have the problem at the whorehouse, they head back to Gracie Law's apartment because he sits down and he's like all pissed off and he like gets thrown in a rocking chair. And then they see that Gracie Law was picking up a Chinese girl that looked a lot like Miao Ying as well. And they come up with a plan, and Jack and Wang are going to head to the Wing Kong Exchange and just walk in and try to get the girl back there because they know where they took Miao Ying to. And they head over there, and while this is happening, the other two, Eddie and Gracie Law, head back to Wang's dad's place. And when they get there, Egg Shen is there. And he really starts to break down what's actually going on with David Lopan and why the elementals are working with him, which I don't really understand. That's probably one of the few things that was kind of weird to me. They don't really have a real reason why they're with him.
Exactly. So it's such a small reason and such a like casually explained thing that I just thought that they were his bodyguard.
Yeah, I remember when I was a little kid, I thought that too. Yeah. But watching it now, I see that they were like tied to him for I mean, it would have been better if they would have just been like he summoned them, so they're bound to him. Or
that's what I thought
it
was. Right. That he summoned them in the street is what I thought.
Sure. Happened. Yep. And then we cut back over to Jack and Wang, whose plan is just to take a telephone in with them and act like they're telephone operators changing the line. And of course that does not go well for them, so they get captured. And they start getting tortured by the different by Thunder, actually, at that point.
Yeah. Who is the funniest of the three, I think.
Yeah.
He's the big guy, right?
He's the Chinese bodybuilder. Yep. So
how much he was like straining the whole time made me uncomfortable, like he was hurting himself.
So I'm sorry, but Rain is the one who's torturing him first. They give him to Thunder takes him over to the lockup room. While they're there, Eddie and Gracie Law and Gracie Law's friend show up to try to do something as well. The journalist, right. And when they show up, it cuts back to Jack and Wang. Jack and Wang are taken to David Lopan, who now, at this point, David Lopan is just a fucking old as shit dude.
Yeah. Definitely doesn't look like a sorcerer or anything.
Right.
He just looks like an old man.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they have a lot of verbal sparring at this point, and Jack trying to get the better and talking shit to him, and then they just kind of go back and forth for a while, and he keeps making fun of him like he believes in this bullshit, and he kind of teases him. He's like, "Oh yeah, your plan is to go on and rule from beyond the grave." Yeah. Indeed. Yeah. Or check into a psych ward, whichever happens first. And he gets really salty.
Talking shit.
Yes. And Lopan gets really salty. And as he's getting salty, he sees that these other people are at the front desk. And while those people are out there, they're kind of demanding to hear a story and this and that. And the security's like, we can't do anything for you. And are you going to try to lock us out? And then, of course, Thunder shows up, takes them with him, and he, kidnaps them as well. So pretty easy peasy shit. So funny backstory about Thunder. Chinese bodybuilder.
Okay.
Until this movie, could not speak English.
Okay.
They taught him how to speak English for those couple parts that he speaks English in this movie. And that's it, man. So, I don't know. A little funny thing. So, Wang and Jack are kind of freaking out. Jack's like, dude, you're not telling me everything that's going on here. And Wang kind of breaks down a lot of...
insisting it to him.
Yes.
And at this point, he's just like, listen, it's all myths, Yeah. Like, this guy's supposedly like a 2,000-year-old dude. Nobody believes that.
Right.
Or at the very least, we pretend not to believe that.
Right.
That'd be wild.
Exactly.
But you're kind of getting an idea that this is like a 2,000-year-old dude.
Yes, clearly... Yeah. These myths are reality, right? So
now, is this where they explain his backstory? Have they already explained his backstory, like why he needs to have the green-eyed lady already? Yeah, right. Because he explains that to them.
Egg Shan does.
Yeah. Yep. No, not Egg. Didn't they have this conversation there?
Well, yeah, no, I'm sorry. You're right. Yeah, no, David Lopan kind of breaks down that he wants, he needs a green-eyed girl to break his curse that he's been, and that's why he's been deathless on this world, and he cannot go, he
needs to marry a green-eyed girl.
And then sacrifice her to the god so that he can be lifted from the curse that he has right now. That's why he has no body, he has no form to him. So that's why they're able to run through him, though, and knock him over, which is kind of weird, but whatever. It doesn't really matter that much. And as they're talking in their little cell, Thunder shows up to drop Eddie off. And, of course, they pull one over on Thunder. They try to, strong-arm him. Things don't go well for Jack again. He almost goes down a fucking well. They do lock the door on Thunder, though.
Almost dies.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Although when he grabbed himself, I was just like, that's some arm strength, dude.
Hell yeah, bro. That is one of those things where it inspires me to work out a little bit. It's just like Cliffhanger inspired me. Yeah. Like, you don't want to be, like, not able to do one pull-up. Because if you can't do one pull-up, you might be in some situation in your life where you just die. Basically, you're like, I can't even do a single pull-up. See ya. And then you just fall.
I'm pretty sure that pull-ups aren't real and that no one can actually do a pull-up. That's just a lie perpetuated by the media.
You might want to go to the gym, my friend. There are literally pull-up bars there.
Pull-ups don't exist.
Okay. So, anyways, after that, they go to rescue the girls because Eddie brings up that they were brought into there.
And they rescue all of them except for Wang's fiance.
They rescue all of them except for Wang's fiance, Miao Ying, because she's in a different part of the building, as we know.
Just there.
We see why, because David Lopan goes to see her, and he's basically like in a spirit form.
Yeah, she's just floating there for sure.
Yep, and
then we see him like travel through the walls and shit.
Right,
like,
exactly.
Okay, so this guy's like for sure like an apparition.
Absolutely, and so we see Jack and Eddie and Wang rescue all the girls, and they get out of that area. They get into a place where they jump in the water. They kind of
that's how they're getting out, I thought.
But do they go into like that warehouse area first, and then they go into the water? No. You're right. So they jump into the water. They swim through it. They pop up in this warehouse area. Okay. Yeah. So as
they're running through the warehouse, they get to the big.
They're about to get out of there. They open the bay door, and then there's just a bunch of wing Kong.
But he. All
right, from here, everything's pretty normal. We're gonna open this door, run right out.
Yeah, He's just like, there's gonna be stores and shit. Don't draw a lot of attention to yourself. Yep. Opens the door, definitely not that situation.
No, a bunch of wing Kong guys there. Closes the door. Think we're trapped.
Yep.
And they start
the door.
busting through the door. Hide. They didn't see you. They only saw me and Wang. Yeah. Just go hide.
Yeah.
And the guys bust through the door. Jack shoots one of them.
Yeah. Oh, shoots a bunch of them.
Yeah, you're right. He shoots a bunch into there. Gets a couple of them down. Yeah. He's on empty though. And
rush in.
And then they all start rushing in. He goes to try to reload. He's trying to get his shit together. While he goes to get his shit together, Wang beats the fuck out of everybody.
Yeah, he like runs around the corner to try to like reload his gun or whatever. Comes around the other end, and Wang has just laid everyone out.
And he's just looking around, and time to go. Yeah. And they get the fuck out of there at this point.
Yeah.
Until they get into the bus, because she basically
Now they're about to get out.
Yes.
And they're like at the real door to get out.
Yes.
And the statue's eyes start moving.
Yes.
And so you're just like, oh, okay, something was about to happen. And then he's just like, okay, I'm going to make a big diversion.
They hold up the front guys.
Well, then
because remember, they're still.
Then he says, I'm going to make a big diversion. Then everybody gets out.
Why don't you just reach for the sky?
Yeah, and then everybody starts running except for
Gracie Law.
Yeah, Gracie Law, who gets pulled in by some giant monster orangutan.
Which you can't really see. It's like just his arm that you see that grabs her.
Yeah, sure. She looks in. She's just like, oh, what's in here?
Right.
And then he gets dragged in by a monster, I guess.
Wang Chi's bus is out there, so they all jump into Wang Chi's bus.
Wang Chi's bus? I thought it was
Egg Shen. Egg Shen. They all jump into Egg Shen's bus, and then the security comes rushing out with AK-47s and just unloading into their fucking bus.
Like literally unloading. Like they're just like, okay, well, I guess we'll murder everybody out here.
We're just gonna shoot the fuck out of everybody that's getting into this bus, which is fucking crazy. But that's
also none of them get hurt.
Right, absolutely, because
that's the biggest crazy part.
They didn't get Miao Ying. And Gracie gets caught by. But as you point out, Gracie gets caught by a Bigfoot.
Yeah,
who screams in her face that finally calms her down. Chan sings. That's what the yellow turban guys are called again. Okay, so at this scene, the Bigfoot takes Gracie Law back to David Lopan. They all sit together. He notices she's got green eyes as well, which begs a question.
Yeah.
If he could just sacrifice any woman with green eyes, he could have had a white girl with green eyes a long time ago.
A million billion years ago.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Because there was a point where
an Irish chick.
How come you haven't done this? Like, do you have any idea how rare like an Asian person with green eyes is?
Yes.
And then also
there must have been other broads that teach.
Yeah,
fit
and
the
it's
bill.
like, okay, if it
us.
can be a white girl, then
it should have just been a white girl,
sure.
right? It's very odd. Like you could have been out of prison. years ago.
Maybe he just
but you had to eat this meal rather than this special meal.
Yeah, because it's 2,000 years.
Yes.
And he's been an apparition on the world for 2,000 years. So, like, he didn't have to wait until he was in the U.S. He could have done this in Europe.
True. It's the story.
He could have looked it up. He could have gone on Wikipedia.
Yes.
And just typed, where is the country with most green eyes?
Yes.
And then he could have emigrated there. Because he's an apparition. Customs isn't going to stop him.
Yep. Egg Shan takes him back to their his building. The Chang Sings start to show up, and people start to freak out a little bit. But no. The Chang Sings, again, they're the good gang because they wear the yellow turbans.
Yeah.
This Egg Shan, he's a very rich guy. Rich? This place is a dump, Wang. So here's a funny scene. They get ready to get their shit together to head out because they're going to go confront David Lopan. They get into the back room, and the dude has a fire pole down into the Chinese underworld, which is very... They get into the underworld Chinatown, and it's like a sewer, but not really a sewer. And at the same time, we have wedding preparations going on for David Lopan, and they just do a bunch of like funny dances and stuff like that, and different maneuvers, and they do a test where they have to touch this like fucking ball, and it lights up, and everything goes well because they both pass the test that David Lopan gives them. Sure. So they're both good enough to be his brides.
Yep.
As they're traveling through the underworld, this is kind of like cool stuff to me. And this is where I was like...
This is where I was really feeling like it was Journey to the Center of the Earth / Jumanji. This is why I started thinking this.
So like...
Because of this scene.
I love that like Wang, they break down like what actually happened, why this is even here. Because in ancient China, basically, the gods got upset with them and... They turned the world upside down. And this is like what's left over of that world that was turned upside down. Like the world we live in now is what came after. But where we're walking right now is all what was before the world.
It's like the destroyed world.
Yes, exactly.
And it's like black water.
And there's even the swamp has a name to it because David Lopan brings it up or whatever later. Yeah. And he's like, what is all this shit? Black blood of the earth.
Yeah, for sure.
You mean oil? Yeah. No, black blood of the earth. Yeah. And, and then as they're talking and walking, this like monster thing comes out.
Weird spider monster thing.
Absolutely. And like Wang
eats a guy.
Wang throws something at that hole and says, "It will come out no more." And that's kind of like you just move on from that thing.
And then, exactly. That was the thing that happened. Right. But now we continue forward. Same thing with the giant orangutan monkey monster thing, where it was just like, what the fuck is that? Yeah, and he's just here for this scene. We won't see him again.
Well, no, you see him a couple times.
Okay, but you know what I mean. Yeah. Like he's just like
no
it's a
point
thing that doesn't get resolved. It's
Absolutely,
like a thing that happened. It's just one of the things that exists in this world.
After this, Egg Shan kind of starts to break down everything that's going on and how they have to fight David Lopan and how they have to wait and stuff like that to do everything the correct way. They show up in Lopan's like main office area and like nobody's there, and he mentions that no one's going to be there because
they're at the wedding.
They're at the wedding, right? Exactly. And you also get they head down a hallway, and as they head down the hallway, these two like statuesque creatures like walk by. And you know, when I was a kid, I always thought these were like dudes dressed up in armor or something like that, like a regular Chinese dude in like armar. But clearly they're not. They're like actual creatures.
Yes,
like,
yeah. They're like guardian kind of things.
Yes, and I don't know, another cool thing that I really liked on the rewatch. Then of course the Beholder shows up and starts talking, and David Lopan knows that they're there now, and he starts talking shit. That's when he mentions that they took him through the swamp of sorrows or whatever the fuck the actual name is. And he starts talking shit to him and breaks down his plan, because that's what you did in the 70s and 80s. You, as a villain, you explained exactly what you're about to do. Exactly. So the name of that thing is the Bog of the Dead Trees. And Jack Burton does the Jack Burton thing, tries to shoot the Beholder, doesn't really do anything. Yeah, fuck, you got to try it. They eventually make it to David Lopan's main office. They're going to head downstairs, and Egg Shan gets them all high. They all get fucked up. Yeah. They all feel really good.
That was really funny. They were just chilling for a little bit, and he's just like, yo, let's take a second for me to whip up some cool little drugs for you guys. They all take a shot. They get into the elevator.
Yes.
And I thought they were all going to start making out. like it just had that it had like a really porno kind of vibe.
They all had a positive vibe.
Yeah. I don't know. They all like were just
that's
like
what he says.
They were staring at each other and they were just kind of
feeling really good.
They were being a little coy with each other, And I was like, what the fuck's about to happen here?
And then they're high.
Yeah, they were just high.
Yeah, exactly. So they show up at the wedding. They watch it for a little bit, and as he's going through his whole ceremony and whatnot, they're just waiting for their time to actually do something. But then that fucking little piece of shit beholder catches him again, gives the eye over to Lopan.
Yeah.
Lopan notices him there. Wang stabs the fucking thing to death, which is funny that the bullet didn't work, but he could just stab it right in his shit, and that was no problem. Because
everything is arbitrary in this movie.
Exactly. Yeah. Look out, guys! And they turn around, and then the music gets ready, and
and then Jack shoots the Uzi into the sky.
Yeah. It's actually a Tech 22, but
okay. It's an Uzi for everybody else.
Okay.
The rocks fall on his head, and he's just out.
Yeah, he is knocked the fuck out.
Okay,
yep. Yeah. And everybody just starts fighting it down, man. We get into a real fight. So,
oh my god! And then the ring.
Yep.
Where he looks down and he's just like peasant sorcery, and then he does the purple ring, and Lopan does the green ring. Yeah, with the pinkies.
Yes.
And then the beams come out, and then they make like two fighters.
Two Chinese fighters.
Who are then just fighting each other,
Yeah.
and then the other guys are just like Dragon Ball Z fighting, but it's two actual fighters.
Yeah.
This, again, is one of those scenes where I'm just like, this movie was ahead of its time.
Yeah, this is one of those scenes, as I watched it this time, I was like, I didn't really mind it when I was a kid.
Sure.
And I thought to myself, this would be so much cooler nowadays. Like, you would have, like, power, like, these beings, like, fighting each other and shit like that.
I think a lot of this movie could be serviced. I feel like John Carpenter just wanted to do a bunch of stuff that were in his head that directors these days get free reign to do.
Right.
And the directors back then had to really bend over backwards to do it even badly.
Right.
Even badly.
Yeah.
He had because like a big part of what I saw in the like the critical reception of this was that people were just like, "Oh, this is just a vehicle for special effects." So like this was like cutting edge special effects
in 1986.
John Carpenter was really putting down some like movie magic, but in retrospect, he was trying to do a thing that it just was not the year to do yet.
Yeah.
I think that if this movie was made now, it would be a Jumanji.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Or it'd be rated R and it'd be more bloody and shit like that. But I don't know. But
he wasn't trying to go serious with it.
I love the Wang and Rain fight. That's just great to me. Like the sword fight that they're having. I love that whole scene.
Yeah.
And
Wang's the real badass of this movie.
Well, we'll get to a lot of that later on. But I don't know. Wang, just his fight, and then he just, because he's like kind of like equaling, this like elemental, and the elemental's like, what the fuck? And he's just like, I can't show you the eyebrow, right? And he's just like, I'm a badass too. Like, I don't know. Like,
and he really is. He's like, he whoops everyone's ass throughout the whole movie.
And the spiritual fight is a little bit silly, but then like...
It's more than a little bit silly.
But then it's great because like Lightning tries to like get one over on Egg Shan and shoots lightning at him, and he flips out a fucking fan and shoots it right back at him. Just and blasts the shit out of him, which is weird that he's made of lightning,
but his own lightning kills him.
Just shocks the fuck out of him. Really funny. But then Lopan, his whole the first part of his wedding is over with now. He is you can see him becoming flesh at this point. He's got skin there and whatnot. And so he takes off at this point with Miao Ying and Thunder. Lightning shoots down the fucking thing so nobody can follow them past there. And then they just kind of mop up. There's a lot of mopping up and cleaning up. Jack gets Gracie Law. Your orangutan Bigfoot shows up, tries to grab Jack. She like kicks him in the knee, and he lets go because he's fucking a giant orangutan that gets hurt by getting kicked in the knee. Jack Burton gets her, and they jump into the fucking elevator.
Because he's absolutely not an obstacle. He's just a thing that's there.
Exactly, yeah, no doubt. A lot of cleanup here, because Wang kills Rain at this point, and Wang Chi just starts blowing down things and shit like that, and tearing down the whole house at this point.
Yeah.
Jack and Gracie Law get up to the main office of David Lopan, And they get out and they confront David Lopan, and it's David Lopan and Thunder, and they're kind of fucked at this point, and Jack is just talking shit and kind of stalling, and you know what Jack Burton shows at a time like this? And then, of course, the real hero, Wang, shows up. What the hell? And then they start fighting, and Thunder fights against Wang. It's just a funny fight between them two because he's just running all over the place, and Thunder's trying to chase after him. There's just shit flying everywhere as Wang is trying, and Wang just gets like a couple like cheap shots on him and stuff like that. Kicks him in the back when he gets around him. There's a scene where like there's like this like nice like statue on this. There's a nice statue on a table, and Wayne runs past it. Thunder runs up to it, just like gets pissed, just smashes the statue in half. David Lopan and Jack, of course, have a little shit talking thing here, and Jack tries to pull his shot, throws his knife at Lopan, completely misses, doesn't even get close to him. Lopan picks up the nice knife, throws it at him. But then, of course, we get back to the first scene, early scene in the movie. His reflexes are super fast, so he snatches the knife out of the air, throws it back at Lopan. Finally gets his first win of the actual movie that he does something helpful. Hits him right between the head, falls over. Every single statue in the room falls over because David Lopan falls over. Wang comes running back into the room. Thunder sees Lopan dead and
literally self-destructs.
Yes, he can't control himself anymore, and he lets himself go and explodes as they run away.
In a very David Carpenter explosion.
John Carpenter sort of explosion.
John Carpenter explosion.
Absolutely. And as he's going supernova, everything's starting to fall apart in this whole place. It's almost like Lopan was connected to this actual building. And as he's dead, the building's starting to fall apart. As they're starting to fall apart, they're trying to run away. Egg kind of rescues them, shouts down to him. They take off. As he's rescuing them, lightning shows up, and he's lightning bolting every like wall and ceiling, and the ceilings are like falling behind him. He's kind of like an unstoppable force, but of course, Egg stops him by throwing a fucking statue right on his head, just knocks him the fuck down from that. They jump into the they jump into the truck, and the truck starts up, and they get the fuck out of there. Everyone heads back to Wang's restaurant, and
they have a really nice resolving conflict resolution scene.
Yes, they just kind of talk about everything, and that's kind of the cleanup of this.
Wang pays up.
Yep. Wang pays up. Egg's going to head out. Egg's like, the work, everything's done here that I needed to do. So it's time to just have a rest. And he, asks him if he's going to head back to China. No, China's always in the heart. And he just kind of takes off.
And then Gracie,
he gets him paid nothing or triple. And he said, you only owed me double.
Yeah.
You earned it.
Yeah.
You're right. I did. And there's a little talk between Grace and him about how, she could get it.
She's just like, just get a trailer. We'll move in together. And he's just like, nah.
I don't think that's going to happen.
And then the girl's like, you're not even going to kiss her? And he's like,
nope. No. And just walks the fuck out, right? And before he walks out, Wang mentions something to him. And
he just says, like, we really fucking did it today.
We really shook the pillars of heaven, didn't we?
Yeah.
No horse shit.
Yeah.
No horse shit, Jack. Takes off.
He had a real special moment there.
Yeah, I mean, well, they're good friends.
It was more of a special moment than he had with Grace, which I liked.
Right, I do too, and it's kind of ridiculous, right? Because this is his best friend, and they've been through some shit.
Kind of the best friend. They've known each other for years.
Good friend, right? They've been through some shit, but clearly they've never been through anything this ridiculous.
Nobody's ever been through shit like
exactly.
This. At this point, you sit down and you're just like, I don't know, I need to decompress, maybe talk to somebody.
Yes,
but he was just like, no, I'm gonna go back on the road.
Yep,
and then they grab each other's hands.
Do the thing. The 1980s scene. Yeah, for sure. Jumps in his truck, takes off, back on the CB, talking his shit, and of course, we are not done with their orange orangutan.
Fucking orangutan crawls out of the bag. Oh no!
And then the music
I was just
hits.
like, dude, you're not scary.
No,
what you want to just ride?
Right, you're just going somewhere.
Yeah. Do you need me to drop you off at the closest gas station? I can give you a ride.
And
I wouldn't have even been afraid of this guy.
Right, you'd been like,
yo, what up, dude?
New pet.
Yeah,
right. Did you need some? I mean, because I'm guessing Lopan took care of you before, and he's dead.
Yeah,
so.
For sure. Did you need something to eat, dude? Are you hungry?
I got you. So, and that's the end of the movie right there. We go on to an outro with John Carpenter himself singing "Big Trouble in Little China."
Oh, really?
Yeah. There's a music video for this. I should have shared it with you before. It's so 1980s.
John Carpenter is quickly becoming, in my mind, a director who is just doing the most.
Straight up clown shoes.
Yeah,
and
dude,
sometimes I love clown shoes.
You know what, though? Mad props for a dude who's just like, I'm just going to do whatever I want. And then in every movie, just did whatever he wanted.
Not only that, but they were like, studios that were like, hey, we don't want you. No, I'm doing it this way, or I'm not doing it at all. Yeah. Basically, that's why he actually almost stopped making movies, because people were too into what he was going to do. Yeah. Now he just kind of supports other movies.
Now, give me the box office on this one. Tell me the box office.
I don't want to give you the box office.
Tell me the box office.
Okay.
How much did this movie cost to make?
$25 million.
$25 million. How much did it bring in?
Not even half that. $11 million.
Fucking wild, man.
This is
the world was just like this.
Yep.
No more of that, please.
This is like, okay, so this movie is the definition of a cult classic. Like,
yeah, a movie that initially failed
completely
and later was liked by a small cult.
And it's done, one of the things is it's done very well every time they've released a new DVD for it. So there's definitely a following. There's definitely, because they've done like 3 different types of DVD releases or Blu-ray releases and things of that nature for it. And each time they did very well. So it's definitely got a following. But like you point out, this is not a popular movie at the time or anything of that nature. Yeah. And I think it's mostly because people didn't really know what this was. Like, what is this,
so
right?
There's a lot of that. There was a lot of like, there's no story here. I read that Roger Ebert was just like, this is, a movie that's a vehicle for just 3D or for...
Actually, I know. Because I thought, if I remember correctly, I looked up Robert Ebert's statements on this, and he actually made a complaint that I would kind of agree with, to be honest. Like, he specifically said the first 30 minutes of this movie gave him a lot of hope, and it was like this exotic, it was lighthearted, it was a lot of fun. And then it just recycles itself, and it's the same thing for 2 more acts.
Yeah,
and I kind of almost agree with that.
I thought he said that this can't just be a vehicle in service of special effects, and that you used a lot of tired tropes.
Yeah,
he said.
Yeah, I can buy that. So,
but I actually, so the tired trope thing, like I'm not Asian, like this isn't a thing that I know if. It is offensive or not to see stuff like this, because I don't know how much of it would be considered appropriation.
Sure.
But like if this was all like Mexican shit, I would have been pretty tired of it, But I couldn't find any evidence of that on the internet.
Yeah.
There didn't seem to be any publications written about how this was problematic. Most things were just like, actually, they did a really good job for the Asian American community. In this
that's what I've read too from a lot of things, because like there is careful detail to like the mythology of like Chinese mythology and all these things. To me, it would be like making a Greek, like a movie that was like, set in, for whatever reason, New York. Yeah. And it was this, and then you dealt with like the son of Poseidon or something like that. And there was like, but then you had like all kinds of Greek, textures.
But you weren't making fun of anything.
No, not at all.
Playing light with anything. It really was like, because a lot of those Asian Americans were presented as Asian Americans.
And not only Asian, like you point out, they're not like silly characters. And like, here's the thing. David Lopan and like the Thunders, of course they're silly characters, but because they're gods,
they're supposed to be out of mythology,
right? Exactly. They're not real people like Egg Shan and all these other guys,
and like Egg and Wang and all that. They were just like, we're the main characters, and we're actually badasses.
Yes,
like they weren't the butt of a joke. They were just doing their thing really well. And the only butt of the joke was fucking Jack.
So you bring that earlier. You brought up John Wayne.
Yeah.
This was originally going to be, this was pitched, and until Carpenter changed it, this was going to be a Western. Set in the 1800s, John Wayne style, similar story. And funny enough, like, I can totally see it, like, being that, like, in a Western town with this Chinese underground and sort of thing going on and whatnot. Still the same, like, theme with, like, this.
And just like, a little more ancient.
Right, and then them being on horses and stuff like that, whatever. And then like I could totally see that.
Why? I wonder if it was for budgetary reasons. They're just.
I'm not sure. Yeah, that does make sense. But it was specifically a John Wayne style Western with John Wayne being a clown, though.
Sure,
Instead of being the everyman that can do everything, it was the exact opposite. He could do
what
nothing.
He was here. Yeah,
right.
Sure.
Exactly. And
you're right. I didn't even put the two and two together, but this definitely had a very Star-Lord vibe.
Yeah,
where like he's the least important part of everything that's happening, but he's the most self-important person.
We joke about it too. Like a friend of mine who loves this movie, adores this movie too. The joke is like they made this movie and everything was set, and then somebody forgot to tell the cameraman that Wang wasn't the main character.
Yes, yeah.
So the camera just stays on Jack instead.
It's a very American-centric, or not American-centric, it's a very white guy-centric portrayal, a perspective, where he's not the main character. But it's on him the whole time, And the main character shit is always happening around him,
and he's very much that's like when I think of like the Thor Ragnarok comparison too. He's very much like the fish out of the water situation. Like he's just the clown in this situation, and everybody else is more powerful around him.
Yeah, for sure.
And knows what's going on around him, and he's just kind of like, I'm here for the ride, I guess, basically, and I'll clean up a few things or whatnot. And
he was trying his hardest, and to be, like this self-important person,
right?
But he was dwarfed by the importance of everybody else,
right, absolutely, man. And it's just so. How do you feel? What would you recommend this movie?
I would not recommend this movie.
Clearly,
this movie was so fucking stupid. When I was watching this movie, I was just like, this movie's dumb as fuck. Now, I like all the things that we've been talking about, like I can laugh along with this movie, and I can talk about how well it did certain things, and I like the perspective that it took, but it was so dumb. And when I was watching it, this isn't the kind of movie that I like. I don't like movies that are like this, that take itself so easy breezy. I like it when movies just, I don't know, take themselves more seriously, I guess.
Sure.
Now, that's why, but that's specifically why even from the beginning I've been making this idea of like this comparison to like Jumanji and movies like that of this day and age. Because there are a lot of movies that come out like this that are just like fun romps through a lighthearted adventure that I don't watch because I don't like fun romps through lighthearted adventure.
Sure.
Like I don't know. There's just something about it that just seems schlocky, and I've never really been into that kind of stuff.
Sure.
So yeah, that was my experience watching this movie. When I was watching this, I was just like, this is fucking stupid.
Yeah. So rewatching this movie, it's funny if you look at my notes for this movie, they're very small.
Yeah.
Because I memorize almost everything about this movie.
Sure, yeah.
I absolutely love this movie.
Yeah.
I totally understand why I love this movie, though. So a few things about this film. This is one of the first films I can remember, like my dad introducing me to. As like, a fun movie that we watched. Like I think I was like up late one night, I couldn't sleep, and he like had this on and we watched it, and like it makes me think of that. Like like it was one of the few movies like from that period of time in the 80s, and like it's so fun, right? Like you know me well, and you know the type of movie I would like most times, right? Every once in a while, I have to have a palate cleanser, and that's what this type of movie is. I would not recommend this movie to anybody who was like, I want to watch a movie that's interesting. Because it's not interesting. It's fun, plain and simple. And that's what it's set out to be.
But it's fun in a very specific kind of fun. It's a really old, schlocky,
Carpenter,
like low budget,
very Carpenter style. And that's the thing is, I like Carpenter so much, so that also helps with all this because I love his music. I love
a very era specific fun.
Absolutely, I agree completely. And like I said, this is definitely not a movie for everybody, but this is just a movie that's like you would throw on. And I think it's more.
I'm glad I watched it.
Sure.
I'm not telling you that like what a waste of my fucking time.
Absolutely.
One of the things about this podcast is that I have gotten to see a lot of movies that I'm just happy that I've gotten to see them. Like to know what people are talking about. But this is not a movie I'll ever watch again.
I think here's the thing though, right? Like when you compare to Jumanji and stuff like that.
Yeah.
The problem I have with that comparison isn't so much like I don't like it, I'm biased. It's that also Jumanji is like a 2-hour movie. And
isn't this a 2-hour movie?
No, it's an hour and 35 minutes.
Oh, it seems so long, dude.
See, I thought the exact opposite. Like, it just goes and goes and goes.
Really?
So,
no.
like,
I was just like, how is this movie still happening?
That's so funny. I do definitely see what, like, Robert E. was saying about the movie repeating itself.
Sure.
And I understand all the complaints about the movie. I just don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
Because it's a fun fucking movie that I enjoy as shit. So.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I think a lot of this is... I don't know, man. I don't know. Maybe at this point in time, tone has just been done better.
Sure.
Where, I can just read it better.
Yeah.
But back in the day, I feel like, especially with John Carpenter, things are just like, listen, they're going to happen as they happen.
Yeah.
Just try to keep up, you know?
Yeah.
And
he's definitely not a hand holder that like he's going to fill in things and shit like that.
Maybe that's what it is too. Maybe I'm just used to very tight plots.
Yeah.
You know, where it's just like, okay, this happens because of this. This happens because of this. Everything that happens is because of the thing that happened before. And like that is modern storytelling.
Right.
Modern storytelling very much is, if you're writing a screenplay, it has to be tight. If there's no point for this scene, if there's no point for this character, then don't involve it in the movie.
Right.
Whereas with this, it's just like, you know, like everything's just happening, and that kind of thing to me just seems so disjointed and silly.
Sure.
That's why when I was watching this, I was just like, what a dumb fucking movie. Now, I can say that it was fun, I guess.
Sure.
I can say that it was fun, but not fun in a way that I genuinely you
would enjoy.
Yeah, I don't generally like to have that kind of fun.
Sure.
Like, to me, tight plots are good.
Yeah.
And so inevitably someone's gonna be like, but you're like the superhero movies, you know? Like, yeah, but the superhero movies, in this movie, right, didn't really give a shit about the characters. Like, none of them. They were all kind of in service of the silly shit that was happening. Sure. Whereas, like, in the Marvel movies care, you know, about the characters, because they make you care. They're written in a way so that you identify with them, and then you empathize with them, and then you mourn them when they pass, or whatever it is, you know? That kind of fun is the fun that I'm used to, that it's like a structured, tight fun that I like to have, because I like to feel those, like, emotional responses, that dopamine hit for when like a character that I have put myself into the shoes of is flying up into the sky, and I'm supposed to, you know, like, live vicariously through this moment.
But Carpenter does that with this movie.
He didn't. No,
we're Wang. We're Wang, the one who like does the shit. And so, in
this movie, it was very much, hey, look at these badasses, be badasses, or look at the silly guy, be a silly guy. You know? There's no intent to try to, you know, give a shit about them. It was just, look at these people do these things. Yeah. And that doesn't really happen so much anymore. Right. Now there's so much more emphasis in you caring, you know, quote, about the characters. Yeah. And so, like, I'm used to that now in these fun romps. You know, when I see superheroes do shit, it's because you're living vicariously through them.
I got you.
And whereas this is just like, no. This is just a fun time, bro. Just come and laugh for a little while. And there's something in my brain that goes, no, you are not going to enjoy this.
Yeah,
you know?
Yeah, man.
I don't know. I think it's just because of how I've been conditioned. You know, like I have.
You're like a World War II vet over here with movies, man. Jesus.
What? Why?
Yeah, I'm kidding.
No, like I'm 33 now.
Yeah,
you know, and so I've been watching movies, like, with an eye for what the fuck is supposed to be really happening here for 15 years. You know?
Okay.
Maybe a little bit more than that.
Yeah.
18 years. And so 18 years ago was not even, it was like 2002, man. You know, like that was like Batman Begins time. That's when I started taking movies seriously. And so anything that happened before then.
Batman Begins was 2005, but.
What was it? Okay, so like around then.
Yeah.
Right? Around Batman Begins time, the Bourne Identity time, was when I started taking movies seriously. Mm-hmm. And so anything that happened before that time was not tone that I was ever accustomed to.
Okay.
So now watching old tone movies where it was just like, this is just the stuff that's happening, man. It, to me, it just seems silly. Like, it seems unfocused. It seems too loose. And so watching this movie when it was just silly shit after silly shit after silly shit, I was just like, this is the dumbest fucking movie I've ever watched.
That's cool. Yeah, and you know, you can't always be right in your opinions, and that's fine. So, speaking of John Carpenter,
my favorite quote of yours, by the way, your opinions can't always be right. Like, opinions are ever right for anyone.
You know, we spoke a little bit about some other films throughout the time, and I don't know how familiar you are with like the British military and stuff like that. You know, because we were talking about
0%.
Okay, because I was just thinking about it because you brought up the Bourne Identity, which was clearly influenced by James Bond, which tied to the military.
Yeah.
So, in actually World War II. I don't know if you knew this or not, but the British were the first people to actually like formally form like special forces units and whatnot, or one of the first people. So with like the SAS units and whatnot, and they would do like specialized missions and whatnot into like Nazi lands and pull off things and you know, just blow up certain points and whatnot. So what I'm saying is, if I were you, next week. Throw on some British SAS uniforms, because the actual name they called those people were Commandos. And we're going to be going live next week with Commando.
I don't know why I let you goat me into listening to this shit. We're not going live. Not next week or ever.
Just remember what old Jack Burton does when the earth quakes and the poison arrows fall from the sky and the pillars of heaven shake. Yeah, Jack Burton looks that big old storm right square in the eye and says, "Give me your best shot, pal. I can take it."